With the political fallout from President Trump's sweeping tax and spending legislation that will cause millions to lose health care and food coverage over the next decade. That includes Elon Musk announcing he's launching a new political party, the America Party, after slamming the president's massive legislation. Meanwhile, Democrats see a path forward to win back voters by using the new law as a political cudgel. As the New York Times points out, top party officials consider the president's sweeping domestic policy bill to be cruel and fiscally ruinous, and they're betting the American public will too. The focus for Democrats are the steepest cuts in the legislation, $1 trillion cut from Medicaid and more than $200 billion from SNAP food aid, while extending Trump's 2017 tax cuts and adding new tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations. It's already proven very unpopular with the American public. Multiple polls show Americans disapproved of the legislation even before it became a law. But a Washington Post Ipsos poll also found 2/3 of Americans said they had heard either little or nothing about the bill, giving Democrats an opportunity to help shape the perception of it. Fresh off his record-making House floor speech denouncing the legislation, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries told our colleague Reverend Al Sharpton exactly what's wrong with the legislation that strips health care from 17 million Americans.
As a result of the fact that so many people will not be able to get access to health care, folks are going to die all across the United States of America. It also represents the largest cut to supplemental nutritional assistance in American history. Republicans are literally ripping food out of the mouths of hungry children, veterans, and seniors. And all of this, Reverend Sharpton, is being done so that Republicans can award billionaires massive tax breaks.
Joining us now is former DNC Chair Jamie Harrison. Jamie, thank you for coming on. I want to start with this idea from the Washington Post Ipsos poll that 2/3 of those people that were polled said they had heard little to nothing about this bill. We talk about it a lot, so it seems like the disconnect may have been from Democrats going back and talking about it as much. Even this weekend, right? We talked to, I've been talking to Democrats on the phone. We had some on the show saying, as soon as Monday comes, the ads are going to be there. Why are the ads not cut already?
Well, listen, one of the things I do know is Democrats have been spending a lot of time at these town halls across the country talking about this issue. And sometimes, the American people just are tuned out to politics. It's that regular noise that they hear. But I can tell you the Democratic Party is focused like a laser on this issue and the impact that this bill is going to have on ordinary people. And guys, it's the same playbook. And I've been saying this for a while now, but it is really coming to pass. I've seen this movie before. It's the same playbook we saw in 2006. Republicans get this unchecked power. They overreach, they cozy up to the wealthy, and then it's ordinary people who are paying the prices. Voters will turn the tables then, and judging by these special elections that we've seen so far in 2025, they're going to turn on the Republicans once again. You look at the things that are going on right now, the disaster that we see in Texas, and that is a direct result of Donald Trump gutting the National Weather Service. I am praying. I live right in Hurricane Alley, right in here in South Carolina. I am praying that the good Lord bypasses us with all of these hurricanes and things that are coming up, because our government, led by Donald Trump and these MAGA Republicans, were so hell-bent on giving billionaires tax cuts instead of doing the basic things that government does to protect its people. And so you all remember in 2006, it was Katrina. It's the same things that are going on in 2006 that I see that are going on in 2026. And as a result, I believe that a similar result will be had where Democrats take back majority in the House and the Senate.
Well, Mr. Chairman, one of the things that came out in the reporting on the arm twisting and cajoling by the president and the Republican leadership to get this bill passed was that the president made a promise to some of the holdouts. Here's this story from Politico, where a report on GOP holdouts and Trump. And here's a pull quote from it. Trump and his advisors also offered carrots to GOP holdouts, including promises to the House Freedom Caucus to reinforce what's in the text with executive orders, according to 4 people with knowledge of the decisions. And so I bring that up because, you know, this law is horrendous. But if and a lot of people don't know about it. How worried are you that the president, through executive orders, will basically nullify the bad parts of this law so that no one feels, really, any of the bad parts of this law?
Well, I don't think he can nullify the bad parts. You know, listen, Jonathan, if he could have done executive orders in order to nullify or to modify some of those things, he probably would have done them already. Some of the stuff takes legislative action. He can send out an executive order, but it still does not replace the legislative action that has to take place to make it the force of law. And in the end, I also heard that he was handing out some of those hats and stuff that he probably got made in China with his signatures on it as part of the sweetener in order to pass this massively bad legislation. You know, in the end of the day, $1 billion tax cut, largest in the history of this country, and you're going to see so many people, 17 million people in this country suffer because they lose health care coverage. I think about my home state of South Carolina. You know, here in South Carolina, 6 out of 8 residents in nursing homes are on Medicaid. You know, we are in a state where 14 of our counties have no OBGYNs. 5 of them only have 1. Right? So it's only going to get worse for the American people. And it's not just Democrats. It's Democrats, Republicans, it's black folks, it's white folks. All the people who are going to suffer as a result of this. And we'll see more rural hospitals close as well. And so this has really reset the game table. And I think you're going to see states like Iowa and all in Texas, where maybe it wasn't going to be so competitive in 2026, but now it's going to be. And so you'll see Colin Allred and some of these other Chris Jones, some of these other folks running for office in seats that were probably not as competitive 2 or 4 years ago that are ultra competitive now because Republicans have reshifted the game table with this awful bill.
I mean, one of the things that's interesting, and Adrian Elrod brought this up yesterday, that a lot of folks in red states do not know that they're on Medicaid because, you know, the governors or the state legislatures have changed the names, right? And so a lot of people may find out they're on Medicaid by being cut from it. One of the things that the DCCC, you know, the House arm, the political arm of the House, has already started to do is looking at the folks that voted yes on the bill, but they are in these purple districts. And right now we have a list of 9 people from Arizona to California, New York, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and one of them, Mike Lawler from New York, he was on with Ali Vitale this week, and I want to play what he has and get your response on the other side.
Almost 12 million people could be uninsured because of what you voted for in this bill. So what do you tell your constituents who are scared?
First of all, I don't accept these numbers that are being put out by
CBO
Democrats.
Has been accepted by Republicans for years.
CBO has been wrong on so many things over the years. Even with these reforms, Medicaid costs are projected to increase by 24% over this 10-year window. So we are talking about slowing the rate of growth, not cutting the program.
So I was on that day after him, and I watched his interview, and it felt very defensive. And, you know, one thing that we know about politics, and you're having to explain things like this, right? You're not really winning. So does this make it easier for you all, or because they didn't really like go and say we're cutting a percentage from Medicaid, they did these reforms and they're not taking place until after November next year? Does that make it harder? Does it make it easier or harder based on what he was just saying?
Well, he better get ready for the defense because it's going to be a full frontal assault in terms of the ads in his district. You know, many of these Republicans, some of them barely won their districts, 1,000, 2,000 votes, 0.2 percentage difference between their Democratic opponents. These folks are going to be on the defense for the entirety of this year because we are going to go after them as it relates to signing their name up and standing by this horrendous legislation. And what you're going to see, even though that the Republicans backloaded some of the Medicaid cuts, we are already hearing from hospitals that are saying that they're going to close down. In Nebraska, they're already saying that because of the cuts that they know are coming, they're going to close some of their facilities. So people are going to start to feel these type of things. And this is why, you know, I'm being active, working with state parties. I have my Dirt Road Dems PAC, and we're making sure that we're going into states where normally we're not as competitive, these red states, and we're starting to recruit candidates, support those candidates. It's really, really important that if there's going to be this massive wave because of the frustration that the American people have with Republicans in charge, that we actually have people who can take advantage of that. You can't take advantage of a wave if you don't have somebody to ride it. And so we're going to make sure that we're out there recruiting Democrats up and down the ballot in red states and blue states and purple states, because it's that important for the American people to actually have some good people to vote for and support to get rid of the riffraff that we have in Congress right now.
Mr. Chairman, I hope those candidates you're recruiting can speak in plain language and none of these acronyms and, you know, political jargon talk that makes people's eyes glaze over. But that's just me. Former chairman of the Democratic National Committee, Jamie Harrison, as always, thank you very much for coming to The Weekend.